Don't drive down the highway with one foot on the gas pedal and the other foot on the brake. In this episode, we're going to address the question of how is the best way to save money and get out of debt. Are you ready? So I'm Doug Andrew, and I've been a consultant for 45 years, helping people to optimize their financial assets, accumulate money safely, predictably, on a tax-favored basis so they don't outlive their money in retirement. But also at the same time, I've counseled a lot of people on how to get out of debt. Now, a lot of times people think, well, I need to hurry and pay off all this debt first, and then I'll start saving money. No, it's actually extremely important to be accumulating some money, establishing some liquidity, an emergency fund where you can access money in the event of an emergency, a setback, being laid off, getting sick, disabled, whatever it is, rather than hurrying and paying off all your debts. Because I have seen numerous people who paid off their debts and then they got into trouble, or they got in an accident, or they had an illness, or they had to have a surgery, and now they couldn't borrow back because they weren't working, they couldn't qualify, and they just had killed all their access to money because they just plowed it all against the debt, and now they don't have any income. So you need to be balanced and start accumulating money, but there is a much faster way to get out of debt than sending extra principal payments against the mortgage to the lender. And I'm going to prove why in this episode. So let me tell you a story. Years ago, I met with 3 finance professors at a major university. And they started out by saying, Mr. Andrew, we teach all of our finance students up here in the upper level classes why, when they go out in the world and they buy their first house, if they can afford it, they should take out a 15-year amortized mortgage instead of a 30-year amortized mortgage. And I went, I said, gentlemen, why do you do that? And they looked at me like, well, duh. They knew I was a financial guy. Now, maybe they meant Doug. I don't know. But they go, duh. If you just bite the bullet and pay a higher principal and interest payment on your mortgage, you'll save a grundle of interest. I guess grundle is maybe a Utah term where I'm from. You'll save a whole bunch of interest, and you'll be able to pay off your mortgage in 15 years, and then you can begin to sock away what you used to pay in mortgage payments into a savings account like an IRA or 401k. I said, gentlemen, you're finance professors. Haven't you ever taken the differential between a 15-year amortized mortgage payment, let's say of this, and we actually used a mortgage of $150,000, $300,000, several examples. A 15-year amortized mortgage payment is higher than a 30-year amortized mortgage payment. Haven't you ever taken that differential between the 15-year and the 30-year? And the tax savings, plus the tax savings, you will achieve during the first 15 years of the 30-year mortgage, okay? Don't spend it. Use a system and sock away that difference over here. And I would point to my right-hand pocket. Well, where's here? Over here, accumulating money tax-free. And they would go, what's tax-free? It didn't surprise me. So I would take a few minutes and explain my favorite vehicle, which I call the laser fund. And I would say, okay, gentlemen, in sections 72E, 7702, and 101A of the Internal Revenue Code, you probably don't know what those are, but I'm a specialist in those. That allows you to accumulate, access, and transfer your money totally income tax-free. I have averaged 10.07% tax-free rates of return for the last 25 years using laser funds. And just trust me, I will give you a book titled The Laser Fund to prove this, because now I've written a book for that. But back then, I gave them my Misfortune book and they were blown away. because I titled the very first chapter in my very first book, The $25,000 Mistake, being made by millions of Americans. What was it about? People who were sending extra principal payments to the mortgage company. They were doing the biweekly plan. Oh, isn't that magic? Instead of paying 24 half payments a year, they were paying 26 half payments because most people are paid biweekly. And so it was all these little magic ways that you could pay off your house in 22 years or 20 years or the 15-year method that they were talking about. And so I said, haven't you ever taken that differential and set it aside with a very disciplined system over here in a tax-free vehicle? No, we've never done that equation, they said. So do you understand compound interest? And they go, yes. I'd give them a sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 sheet of copy paper, and I'd fold it in half. Fold it in half again. Now, imagine if you could fold over that sheet of paper 48 more times, a total of 50 times. How thick do you think that would be? And they would say, 3 centimeters or 5 inches. I said, gentlemen, I thought you understood compound interest. What is the sheet of paper doing every time you fold it in half? It's doubling. That is 5/1000ths of an inch thick. But if you doubled it 20 times, it would be 1,048,000 times thicker than 5/1000ths of an inch thick. If you doubled it 20 times, it would be a mile high. If you doubled it 42 times, it'd be from here to the moon. If you folded it over 50 times, it'd be from here to the sun. If you folded it over one more time, 51 times, it would be from here to the sun and back. And they would go, oh, wow. What does that mean? If I take the money that I would be giving the mortgage company, it would be like saying, here, Mr. Banker, here's an extra $100 this month. Don't pay me any interest on that. If I need it back, I'll borrow it back on your terms and prove there's a need why I should have it. Sounds sort of stupid, doesn't it? But that's what's happening every time you send extra principal payments to the mortgage company. I said, gentlemen, take the differential, put it over here, compounding tax-free. And have you ever done the math? No? I took out my little HP 12C calculator at the time, and I did the math. They were flabbergasted. I said, look, there was enough money in this right-hand pocket to totally pay off the mortgage liability, this pocket, let's say, in 12.5 years. With the same money, they were teaching their students to pay off a mortgage in 15 years. Same money, but I got out of debt in 12.5 years, 2.5 years faster. And then instead of socking away the money into a tax-deferred IRA or 401k, I kept it over here. Now, I actually don't physically take the money out of this pocket and pay it off. I can, but by keeping it over here, I'm earning higher interest than I'm paying over here. If I'm borrowing on a mortgage at 4.5% tax-deductible interest, that's a net cost of 3. If I'm earning 9, how much more is 9 than 3? Don't say 6. It's 300% more. On $1 million mortgage, I'm making $90,000 over here, compounding. It's going to be more than 90 the next year because it's compounding. I'm paying $30,000 simple interest. Compound, simple interest. There's enough money over here to pay off the mortgage 2.5 years faster, but by not paying it off, guess what I'll have? I'll end up with, and I showed them the math, I'd end up with several $1 million over here instead of, if I'm lucky, $900,000 in a tax-deferred IRA or 401k after paying off the mortgage, and after tax, the $900,000 is only worth $600,000. What would you rather have? 2, 3, 4 million tax-free, or a paid-off house and only $600,000 after tax in IRAs and 401ks? Are you getting it? I can show you how to get out of debt. But the quickest, smartest way is not any way, shape, or form sending extra principal payments to the mortgage company. You put it over here where it's liquid safe and earning predictable rates of return. You can access the money here because it's yours. You don't have to borrow it back. You're in control. So this sounds a little counterintuitive to what you've always been taught or thought. I understand that. And that's why I wrote my first book was called Missed Fortune. And that's why it was the very first chapter. And so I taught people in the first section of the book, the first 11 chapters, about how money really works and how you can become your own banker. And then I talk about why IRAs and 401ks are not the best way to save for retirement. I would rather accumulate my money tax-free, access it tax-free, and when I die, it blossoms and transfers tax-free. That knocks the socks off of an IRA or 401k. So why would you want to go down the highway with one foot on the gas in a tax-deferred IRA 401k account and put the other foot on the brake by getting rid of all your tax deductions, paying off your house the wrong way? Keep the tax deductions high, continue to use money like the smart banks and credit unions do, where they borrow OPM, other people's money. By doing that, you'll have a tremendous amount of wealth, and the best place to accumulate that is in a tax-free laser fund. And so in all the books that I've written, one of my favorite is the Laser Fund. And if you click on this episode here, you'll understand how you can get a free copy. I'll pay for the book. It's 300 pages. Half of the book is the charts and graphs and explanations. The other half are 62 actual client stories of how you can use the Laser Fund for retirement, for real estate management, business capital, college funding. And I'll send it out to you. I'll pay for the book. You pay the shipping and handling, $5.95. Is that fair enough? And then you can become empowered on these kinds of strategies so that you are smarter about your money and you end up with far more than even these finance professors were telling their students because they didn't know what they didn't know.